The conventional narrative is that Southwark House, north of Portsdown Hill and many miles from the coast, was the headquarters for D-Day and Operation Overlord in 1944. But wartime is anything but conventional, and the best laid plans of mice and men sometimes need changing. So it was nearer D-Day. Highlighted in the report made by the Commander-in-Chief for Operation Neptune, Admiral Ramsay, he found it necessary to set up new organisations during the vital first few weeks, in which the tempo of the initial assaults had to be maintained at the highest pitch. According to Admiral Ramsay, from the outset of detailed planning it was clear that success would be largely dependent upon the ability to exercise close and continuous control of the thousands of ships and craft taking part. So it was that Bucco, the US headquarters for Operation Overlord, was set up in a wing of Southampton Town Hall called the Civic Centre. As if to emphasise the point made by Admiral Ramsay, there is a plaque next to the administrative door, used at the time, still there, which reads, "This tablet records that a wing of the Civic Centre was used as the headquarters of the 14th Major Corps US Army during World War II between D-Day, June the 6th, and the end of hostilities. Orders were issued from here directing the embarkation of the American armies, who together with their allies sailed from Southampton docks to liberate Europe. During the operation, over 2.25 million troops and 250,000 vehicles and millions of tons of American supplies were shipped through the port." Again, according to Admiral Ramsay's report, Bucco, or the Build-Up and Control Organisation, was instrumental in the success achieved. Similarly, the headquarters for the British and Commonwealth troops was in a hotel requisitioned by the Royal Navy called South Western House, codenamed HMS Shrapnel. Like the American Bucco, HMS Shrapnel was within easy walking distance from where the D-Day Armada was berthed. Thanks to the natural advantage at Southampton of the double high tide, vessels could be loaded 24 hours a day, vital to the success of the Normandy landings. In peacetime, passengers for the Titanic travelled by rail from London to stay at the South Western Hotel, and the man-made infrastructure must have also appealed to the planners, who realised that the railway terminus station was going to provide a vital link to the rest of the country in the build-up to D-Day and when the need for reinforcements was greatest. Before D-Day, reservists from every part of the country received a rail ticket and instructions to report to HMS Shrapnel, where they were given command of their landing craft and sealed orders ready for D-Day. Of course, the Americans were of crucial importance for the Second Front, but the role of Southampton for Allied and Commonwealth troops cannot be underestimated. There is unique film evidence of the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, choosing Southampton to wish the British assault troops prior to D-Day good luck. This was the closest he could get to Normandy, and if he had received the King's permission, he would have joined the troops. To show the unique role of Southampton, there is film made in December 1944 by Miss Rosie Newman, a personal friend of the King and Queen. When she needed to illustrate D-Day for her private showings to an invited audience, she was sent to Southampton. D-Day was a single day in June 1944, but Operation Overlord went on until the Allies crossed the River Seine, and the troops in the film will arrive in Northern Europe in time for the Battle of the Bulge. Rosie Newman shows a keen eye for details of the D-Day landings and Operation Overlord. In her vignette, she covers the embarkation hards, which played such an important part in the rapid reinforcements of our troops on the beaches. Southampton Pier appears in the background. She covers the landing craft, which was so important that D-Day had to be postponed until enough vessels could be constructed or requisitioned. She also catches film of a train ferry returning to port. Today we take these vessels for granted, but at the time they were an innovation and even led to a dispute about control between the Army and Navy. The train ferry in the film is one of only 5 at the port that were converted to carry rolling stock and locomotives, and were largely responsible for restocking the French railway system and keeping General Patton supplied with gasoline. Rosie Newman doffs her director's cap to the GIs at the embarkation hard, but further along the port we have film evidence of the 1,000th Yank leaving from the western docks. But there was also a ceremony for the 2 millionth American. And leaving further along the same berth, there is also film of Patton's famous Third Army embarking at Southampton. During the initial phase of Operation Overlord, it was not Southwark House, but Southampton's Town Hall and Southwestern House that directed operations until the Supreme Commanders could take to the field. There is one last wartime correction that perhaps could be made to the historical narrative. It is always stated that on D-Day Americans did not embark at Southampton. This would have been the case if D-Day had gone as planned. But of course it was delayed because of bad weather for a single day. This did not affect the British troops, but the order came too late for the GIs that were supposed to follow, but were already in transit, and the evidence of the clapperboard from the film shows that the US troops left at least from embarkation hard S4 on June the 6th. The probability is that these soldiers were bound for Omaha Beach, and this would be their last farewell.